Hello, I wanted to do a quick little bookbinding tour of everything that I've worked on so far. So this here is the first book I ever made. It is case bound. Let's see if I can go over some of the issues. Well, you can see that these boards are beginning to burst a little bit. That's just, hasn't been in the press. It'll do that. These end pages, we learned this paper is just not a good choice of paper because it just wrinkles really quickly, and if you can't tell, we totally forgot to use mole here, so you can see these linen tapes. This is also, if you can't tell, not very centered, so not amazing. The actual signatures themselves are pretty much fine, but the overall construction is a little interesting. And leaves, okay, like not too bad, but not amazing. The second book I made, actually quite a big improvement. I'm really happy with this one. I think it looks really nice. This is some paper just painted with acrylic that I did on the front, and well, this is the front and the back. It doesn't really matter. It's what one. This paper, as you can see, cooperated much better for the end leaves. Again, you can still kind of see those linen tapes because there's no mole, but it's not nearly as bad. Yeah, this book is really nice, honestly. If I know anyone who needs like a journal, I might just like give them this or something. I'm probably going to use it as a portfolio piece, question mark. It's in really good shape. I like it. I think it turned out really pretty. And this is quarter binding, what I did here, where about a quarter of this case is bound in fabric, including the spine, and then the rest is paper. I like doing that both aesthetically and also I think there are some practical reasons. So I'll get into those because all of the other books I'm about to show you are also case bound. So here is a text block that has not been put in its cover yet. This is the mole that we forgot on those other ones. That's gonna help cover up these tapes. This is our Oxford Hollow, our headbands. Yeah, this one is pretty nicely rounded. And the cover for that is going to be this right here. So it's not glued in yet because I'm still waiting on this cover to dry because I only kind of glued it together yesterday. But when it is done, it will look a little something like this, a little bit, with kind of a nicer spine though. Obviously now, well, it's not glued in, it's not going to be quite so flush, but I think it's a very pretty cover. I like the metallic. The blue, we have very limited colors of book cloth, so, work with what you got. I think the teals coordinate nicely at least, so I'll take it. Then I have these two. These are cute. So these are two little sketchbooks that I did actually using a different binding technique. These are done with a Swiss case, which means I open them up like this, and you can see this spine here, but the spine actually isn't attached to the text block. The text block is only attached to the back of the spine, or the back of the case. So, like that, but it's not attached here or here, so it can be opened all the way flat, which is perfect for something like this that's meant to be like a sketchbook type thing. And I've done Coptic binding, which is pretty ye olde fashioned. There's no glue, and I did a little bit of a decorative Coptic. You can see, unfortunately, the paper tore here a little bit. Lesson learned. This is also just like some hand-painted paper I did just to match this book cloth, honestly. And then this one, this is basically the exact same thing. The end leaves are a little prettier, but they also wrinkled, which is evil. But it's attached the same way. It's still that Swiss case. Nice and adhered. Again, that decorative Coptic binding. So those will be two little cute sketchbooks. And then I have this text block. So this is a Coptic bound block. Here you can see the decorative Coptic. This is this nice pink thread. I've got these pink end leaves. This is for me, so it's very pink, it's very girly. And then this is some Aerofil fountain pen paper. I just got the A5 and then folded it in half to make these signatures because A5 paper is usually short grain, which means you would have to fold it in half to get an A6 if you want it to be a usable book, unless you want it to be like a vertical, like a very skinny book. So this one was portrait mode, so it actually worked for me to just fold it in half along the short edge and still have it be a book with the grain going the right way. And that is going to go into this case, which is very pretty. I'm very proud of this case. So this is another Swiss bound, which you can kind of tell if it's a Swiss bound based on one, if these are glued in without the text block, because otherwise, like here, this paper right here that's attached to the cover, that's what this is on a normal case bound book, is this end leaf. But here, since it's a Swiss binding, this will be glued down, but the rest of this will not be glued down. This is mostly here just to protect those pages. So that's gonna look something like this when it's done. Look at that, swanky, swanky, swanky. Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this little quarter binding, doing a pink one. This pink and green I think coordinates very nicely. And then the next two books I have are kind of interesting to go over. So I have this text block. This is the book Double Shot by Diane Mott Davidson. However, you may notice that there's no case on it. That is because it was eaten by a dog, by my dog. This is my mom's book, and as you can see here, it has sustained some damage. So I have gone in and done my best to, I can't really fix this, like it's kind of a nightmare. But what I have been able to do is basically reattach end leaves, because the end leaves were pretty much totally gone, considering the cover was basically totally gone. More than basically. The cover was totally gone. There was no cover. There was no case. So I've reattached that. I've reattached some headbands here. This is just some toned Japanese tissue to get these kind of faux headbands. I've put on an Oxford hollow here. As you can see, there's that hollow. So now it looks like a much cleaner, neater book altogether. So that means I can go ahead and put it in a new case. And that case is right here. So this was cut and measured for this book, and then I actually had to trim these edges further down than I intended, because it turns out that while it didn't have a cover, it did have this little slip cover. So it didn't have like a hard case. And then this is just, I've gone in and mended this. I just kind of traced this on a light table, cut it out, glued it with some methyl cellulose, and then did some mends with remoistenable tissue. This is my mom using this. She's not going to be throwing it around the house. So yeah, and I'm not worried really about the aesthetics of like replacing any of this. I kind of just wanted it to be like a solid slip case. So the original cut of this actually didn't fit in the slipcase anymore. So I realized, okay, well, clearly I've done something wrong. And while I think I may have perhaps overcut a little bit, because now the text doesn't fit great, I'm hoping if I round the spine a little bit, which is maybe going to be tough because, like, look at the condition. But we fight, we continue, we go onwards. So you can see there's, you know, a little bit of a lip. That's not really as much as we would like. We would like there to be a little bit more of an edge between the text block I'm also noticing with this text block, it keeps doing this thing. You can see it, can't you? Where the, and I honestly, part of me is like, is it actually just like, is it the slip cover? Like, is the slip cover crooked or something? Like, is something up with that? Or like, look how crooked the text block tilts. And it's like, well, I didn't make the text block. That's just the book. So if the book is tilted, then I can't fix that. That's just, your book is tilted. Like, sorry. But hopefully this will be readable again to my mom after our little baby Smokey ate it. And then I have another book. This one doesn't have a slipcover, and this one wasn't nearly as damaged, so it was a lot easier to repair, but this one also had no cover. You can see there's kind of some damage to these recipes back here, but my mom has said that she doesn't really care about the recipes, so I'm not too concerned about them. Again, similar process on the last one, replacing these end leaves, new end bands, Oxford Hollow, just nice, clean, boom, crunch time. And then here is the cover for this one. And since this one doesn't have a slip cover, I made this one a little bit nicer. And what I was actually able to do was I was able to use, this is the same paper, I just didn't include any of the peonies. Because I kept all of the like kind of scrap that I had from this and was like, I don't know, maybe I'll use it for something. And then when I decided to use this olive green for the spine, I was like, wait, I know what will look perfect. Yeah, this one I'm honestly really proud of. I think it looks really nice. Look at that, look how gorgeous. It's gonna be so nice to read. Yeah. She's pretty gorge. She's pretty gorge. Yeah, that's all of the books that I've been working on. Thank you for watching. LOL.